the round of 32 of the World Cup has been fantastic so far. It's been so enjoyable. There's been some incredible games. Just to recap, over the last couple of days, we've seen some massive results, and I've done a video already that's gone up about the Brazil and Japan game, and also the South Africa Canada game in that as well, where the two last minute goals for Canada and Brazil, which saw them progress. Particularly enjoyed Brazil against Japan, fantastic game. And now on to the next set of games that we've seen. Now let's go back to the start. We see Germany out of the World Cup on penalties. The first time they've ever lost a World Cup knockout game on penalties. This is incredible stuff. And Paraguay, the team to make it happen, and they have in this game as well. Paraguay, we see them score their first ever goal in a World Cup knockout game. It's a fantastic story, Paraguay. It's a fantastic journey they're on at the moment. I picked them out at the start of the tournament, said they could be one of the surprise package teams. I've picked them to be one of those teams. And after the first game, I thought, no, this is going to happen. The defence just wasn't. It wasn't what I thought it would. They didn't look like what I thought they would against the US, which is a really, really solid defensive team that make it hard to play against. And it didn't look like, after the first game, it didn't look like that was going to happen at all. But since then, they've really tightened up at the back. They've been fantastic defensively. They've been the team that I expected them to be like, but much more what I expect them to be like, based on their sort of, the qualifying performances in South America, where they've been fantastic. But, defensively against Turkey, they were great. Got the goal. Go down to, even down to 10 men, they was able to hold out as well. Held out for the 0-0 against Australia as well. And then, also I thought defended really well for the majority of the game against Germany as well. Made life very difficult for them. Defensively, they look a real threat, and it'll be interesting to see how much they keep this going forward. And they progressed to the round 16. Last time they never scored a goal before. They had made the quarterfinals in 2010. They lost 1-0 to Spain in the quarterfinal, but they got there by beating Japan on penalties after a 0-0. So this is the first ever time they've got a World Cup goal in the knockout stage. So it's a real story for Paraguay. It's one of their biggest ever results. It's fantastic to see. And always defensively, they've always had a really good record in the World Cup, and to see them really, really put it to good use and take the next step, it's good to see. And going back to the start of the game, I mean, the first half, to be honest, was quiet. Paraguay take the lead right at the end, and it needed that goal because the first half was quiet and not much was happening, and it wasn't the best. It was a slow start, and the game later we see between the Netherlands and Morocco was a similar story. Quite a slow start, not the most entertaining in the first half, but a game that really come alive eventually, and it was a fantastic occasion that went all the way to penalties in the end. But like I say, Germany in the first half, Paraguay not really getting on the ball for the first 40 minutes really. You see Germany just sort of trying to walk the ball into the net. Not really seeing much quality from them, not really seeing Paraguay create many chances either. But they do defend well though, and that's the thing. But at that point, the way they played the first 40 minutes, Paraguay, you think they just want they've set out for penalties right from the start, which is obviously dangerous against Germany. The record they've had up to this game anyway, the record they've had in shootouts. But Paraguay, they do have the moment coming forward, and this is where if you can take your chances when they come, having a good defence really, really can pay off and really, really can help you go deep in a tournament. But again, Germany don't do great here either. I think Germany are maybe at fault a bit here as well, because we see, them fail to clear from the corner, fail to counter when they got the opportunity. Player loses that challenge, and then we see again they have multiple chances to put a challenge in. There's no one goes to the player on the right, who was able to get the ball into the box. No one going to him. No one really pressuring. No one really trying to go in there, trying to put a challenge in. Lets him break away, and then the ball comes into the box, and then Sisso's there, and he's able to get a completely free header, completely unmarked, and really good move from Paraguay, but equally really poor defensively from Germany. Really unorganised. Really, no one doing the job, and they take the lead just before time. Like I said, the game needed that, and that with Germany dominating the possession, this now made it really interesting. With Paraguay taking the lead, it come out of nowhere really, but it was a really good move from them, and a good time to score as well. Going into the break, 1-0 up. In the second half, Germany they do eventually step up, and the goal does come pretty quickly in the second half. 55 minutes in, this looks better from Germany, looks more lively. It's a good move from Wirtz, who then gets into Havertz, who was gifted the goal in the end, but it looked like it might have come off Goretzka as well, but it's ultimately Havertz who was gifted the goal, given the goal officially. And from there, you think Germany 1-0 up, got it back to 1-1 after being 1-0 down, and what happens now? The way they're dominating the possession, do they carry on they go on and win the game in normal time. I think that's what a lot of people would have expected, but that didn't happen. Paraguay frustrated them. They keep them at arm's length. Germany maybe don't make the most of this period. They'll probably look back on this period with the most regret. They don't make the most of this period, but in the second half, where they are playing a bit better, where they are on top, where they are, bringing their options off the bench as well, utilising the big squad, and it just not happening for them. They'll look back at that with a lot of regret, I feel. And we see a lot. I sort of bought into the Germany hype a bit because I wasn't convinced that I didn't think they had any chance really. You've always got to be in the because of Germany. They've always got to be in the conversation before the tournament when you talk about okay, who can win this tournament. But I wasn't really particularly keen on them before the tournament. I didn't think they was going to do much. I just don't think Kai Havertz leading the line, him as your main number 9. I just don't think that can work. And in this tournament, but in the group stage, I sort of bought into the hype a bit. The results they got were results I sort of expect them to get as well. I expected them to top that group, and I know they lost to Ecuador, but that was when they'd already sort of qualified and were resting players, already won the group. They've shown some quality against Ivory Coast, but only just beaten them. They only beaten them in the last. Thinking about it now, they only just beaten them in the last minute. Ivory Coast unlucky not to get a draw there, and Curacao. I've loved them in this tournament. They've been fantastic, but 7-1 win for Germany there. It's against Curacao, so you can't really credit them too much for the group stage. Coming to this again, it's another real failure of a tournament for them, another disaster. And since they've won it, they've been really poor. 2 group stage exits. They finally get out here, and they've not even made the round 16 this time out as well. Out in the first knockout game. And Germany and Italy, this is an incredible stat. Neither one of them, since they've last won the tournament, last won the World Cup, has won a World Cup knockout game. I just thought that was an unbelievable stat. Italy won it in 2006. Back-to-back group stage exits. Haven't qualified for the last 3. Germany winning it in 2014. 2 group stage exits back to back, and now out in the first knockout opportunity in this game. So it really is complete shambles what's going on with Germany. I know the FA there is getting a lot of criticism. I know Nagelsmann's seriously under pressure now. I know there's a lot of rumours he could be going, he could be getting sacked potentially, and I don't think he's been particularly. He's really convinced overall either. Really, I mean. The last Euros, Germany looked like they were getting back to the best. They get the game with Spain was 50-50. Spain win it at the last minute. If it had been Germany that had won that, instead they could have easily gone on and did what Spain did, I feel. But since then, they've been pretty poor, really. Nations League didn't really turn up when they hosted it. Qualifying there's a 2-0 loss to Slovakia in the qualifying as well. They did the bare minimum pretty much. They did what they needed to do to win the group and get through, but that was it. And going into this tournament, I wasn't overly convinced. I think there's been some players that have come through that have been good though. Players like Brown, Mecha, and Dav. So there's been some, there's been that. But overall, it just don't look like they've got the goals in them anymore. It's just not the Germany they used to be. And I think, I do think, Dav and Musiala, whichever one seems to come off the bench between them two, they rotated between them two. It was a good option they had there. This is kind of where I bought into the hype. I thought, okay, they've got options here, and they didn't. Whichever one comes off the bench seems to be better. And they bring Musiala on in the second half, and we see them push for that winning goal. Germany, it doesn't come. They get it to extra time. Paraguay, and from there, I think at this point, I think Germany are starting to get frustrated, and we see in the second half of extra time they do start to lose their heads a bit, which we'll come to, I think. And they didn't really cover themselves in glory at all. So right at the end of the first half of extra time, it seems like Germany might have done it. We see the goal that they did score gets chalked off rather harshly. I mean, you look back at this and you think, well, this wasn't really a foul. I think this goal should have stood. They've got this real thing now in this tournament. If any contact with the goalkeeper, the goals from the opposition and the goals disallowed, which seems a bit ridiculous, really. But if that's what they're going by, then this, they disallow this goal. That's consistent with what we're seeing in this tournament, I suppose. And I don't agree with it, but Germany, they can't look back and blame it on that decision. Wrong decision or right decision, they can't blame it on that. They were poor. They're underwhelmed. They were so below the standard that was expected. So they can't really sit there and complain and say that shouldn't have been that they've lost because of that. Because But for a split second, they seem to have thought they got themselves in front. The goal from Tar, but then it is chalked off. And the second half of extra time, by that point, Germany are getting very frustrated. I think prospect of a penalty shootout, which they were usually very good in looming, they're not really seems to be. We're not really seeing much quality. We see that that moment as well where the foul on Musiala, and then, which was a bad challenge. But then we see him lose his head really, and just do really, really silly thing to do. Really, could easily have got himself sent off here. Maybe even should have been sent off. It was a really bad challenge he puts in direct retaliation to the one on him that was ignored or not picked up on. But seriously, we see Nagelsmann getting very frustrated on the side, and we see him just starting to lose their heads a bit. Yeah, Paraguay really got him rattled, and the game did start to get a bit silly. I feel when that last extra time period, really, those fouls that were going in. But anyway, game goes to penalties, and from here, Germany. You're thinking, by this point, I'd usually be so confident that Germany coming into a penalty shootout simply because of their record, but I wasn't. I'm thinking this could go either way. This is 50-50. And, we see Kai Havertz takes the first penalty and he misses. And, they step him up as their main man, the first taker, which I find a bit baffling because his penalty shootout, his penalty record is quite a mix. It's quite mixed. He scores some, misses some. He's literally hit and miss. And I remember when he used to play for us at Chelsea, he scored some, but he also missed some as well. So he's hit and miss from the spot. But he misses it, and that sets the tone for the shootout because Paraguay score. Then when they equalise Germany, Paraguay score again, and that happens a few times to get to 3-2, going into the fourth penalty for Germany. Vladimir, awful miss, and this is another thing they're getting criticised for, the penalties. And why are all the German players doing that stupid run up where they almost were stopping and doing those really bad run ups? And I never like them, and I always think they're risky. If one player does it, you think, okay, that's just what they do. Sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. But the whole team's taking a really dodgy run up, and I don't quite get it. Paraguay just fired most of theirs in, did it the right way, but Vladimir misses. They got the chance to make it 4-2 with the fourth penalty here. Paraguay, if they go 4 out of 4, they win, but they miss. And then Germany do score, but then they still need, at this point, Paraguay they still need to save this penalty, and Neuer does pull that off in what would be would end up being his last World Cup game for Germany. So we go to sudden death, 3-3. After all three, and then what we see Tar step up and take a horrendous penalty. By that point, I'm thinking, okay, Germany might well go on and win now. Paraguay had 2 opportunities to win it and failed, and there's going to be so much pressure on the next taker, but it didn't seem to affect him. Kanawi fires it in, and Paraguay win after Tar's miss, and they win 4-3. So Paraguay through on penalties, massive celebrations at full time. Really, really pleased for them, happy for them. They progress, but another disaster for Germany. Now, Germany and the Netherlands both out on penalties in the same night. Both of these two going out on the same night. The Paraguay one was a real shock. This one was one that it felt like could go either way. But after what we saw from the Netherlands in the group stage, it very much felt like they were slight favourites coming into this game. But definitely Morocco not a team to underestimate. We knew of their quality. We knew how good they were in the group stage. They were probably the better side against Brazil in the draw there. Comfortable against Scotland and Haiti in the end. And, a team that's really established themselves since the last tournament as a real threat now. And to be honest, the game again, this one's another one that gets off to maybe a bit of a quiet start in the second half. Definitely does start to come alive though. I feel, to be honest, Morocco were the better side. Had the better chances, they had more of the ball. They were the ones that were forcing the issue. They were the ones making it happen. But it does seem like with less than 20 minutes to go, 70 odd minutes in, 72 minutes, that's when Gakpo gets the Dutch in front. And from there you're thinking, okay, they might just find a way to do this here, even if they've not been particularly brilliant in this game. Not the team that we saw in the group stage, not the fluidity in the attack and the quality that we've seen from them. Because I really honestly thought they had a chance to win after the group stage. They were someone that, I thought maybe they could go all the way. I thought they've got so many options in the attack. I think they've got so much quality, and I thought they seemed to be playing so well as a team. Didn't quite reach that level in this game, but I think Morocco is so organised, and I think they really, really, got found out here a bit. And it's disappointing for the tournament for them as well. A lot of people said before the tournament they might be like an early sort of one of the underperformers, and I thought, they'll always be there. Holland, they're always there or thereabouts, but didn't happen for them in the end. People were right from the start, really. The group stage was so good, topping it. Draw against Japan, where they dominated that game, battered Sweden, battered Tunisia, but couldn't find that same rhythm in this game. And Morocco really, really took the game to my thought and were the better side. And even in the extra time, it felt like they were the better side, really. And if anything, it was a chance for them to sort it out going into penalties to still get through the Dutch, but they couldn't do it. It goes to penalties, Morocco win. And, we see the... Of course, though, when Morocco missed the first penalty after the Dutch scored, you're thinking, okay, this is right, but then Holland miss. They did get it level, and it seemed both quite bad penalties on both sides, really, on the occasions as well. But Vegos puts Dutch in front, Talbot equalises, then Timber misses, and then you're thinking, okay, could Morocco score this next one? They miss again. Hakimi misses. Then Somerville misses, and this is the bad one, really. This is the one that decides it, because then Sarabi steps up and wins it 3-2 for Morocco with their 5th penalty. Both made hard work of it, but it got through on penalties in the end. It was a different sort of shootout to the one we saw in the other game. There's quite a few misses in this shootout, but 3-2 win for Morocco, they progress, and they'll be playing Canada. That'll be an interesting game. That'll be enjoyable, that, I think. But, yeah, Holland and Germany out already, so disappointing tournaments for them. Major letdowns, really, to be honest. They were both considered in the conversation to win it, especially after the group stage games. But, well, not to be. Of course, for Germany again, I mean, will there be a change of manager for Germany, potentially? Nagelsmann coming under a lot of pressure. Who will they get as well if they do lose him? I know they'd love someone like Klopp ideally, but he's doing some other role at the moment. Tuchel's obviously in the England job. I think Oliver Glasner maybe is a good shout for that. And that's for the Netherlands job, because it has been confirmed that Ronald Koeman has resigned as a Dutch manager. I mean, they usually go for an older sort of generation one. With someone like Arnold Slot, Ten Hag, are they in contention? Maybe we'll find out soon. Because both of these two, I think they like to go for a native manager. They don't. I mean, no, Brazil. If the top manager was there, I think they would. Because Ancelotti is obviously Brazil's first ever foreign manager. It was worth breaking the tradition almost. Because there's a lot of countries that still like to do that. Have someone who's from the country, and we'll have to see what happens there with these two. But certainly disappointing tournament. But equally though, congratulations to Morocco again. Really, really proving why they're one of the big teams now. And also congratulations to Paraguay as well. Fantastic result for them.